Hi, I'm Graham Taylor and you're watching Potted History. Today I'm talking about the Vindolanda owl pot, and you might see that I've titled this video, When is an owl that's not an owl probably an owl? Which is quite a confusing title really, and you might get to see why in a little while. This little pot was found in June 2022 in a shallow pit. It appeared to have been deliberately deposited, and I believe it was at the foot of a column in a building, or of a building that could have been interpreted as a shrine or temple. So it was interpreted as possibly being some kind of votive offering. And indeed, when it was dug up, it was immediately recognized as looking like an owl. And I went down, had a look at it, and decided to have a go at replicating it. But there were several things that interested me about it. The two eyes, the holes in the centre of the eyes, were very, very roughly pierced. They'd been pushed through with a tool which had left burrs on the side opposite to where they'd been pushed in. The rings that form the sort of outer part of the eye were sort of quite roughly applied, or possibly looked as if they may have been shattered along the edges. Quite a sharp sort of addition, and it was a bit difficult to interpret, really. So, anyway, I set about making a replica of this pot. In fact, I decided to make quite a few replicas because a lot of people were interested, and it was suggested that they could go in the shop at Vindolanda, which they are. You can purchase one in the shop at Vindolanda. But as I started to make them, I made one, or threw it on the wheel, put it down on the board, made a second one on the wheel, put it down on the board, threw a third one and put it next to the other two, and suddenly had what I sometimes refer to as a eureka moment. I realised that actually they weren't owls at all. They were part of something different. They were part of something which is not uncommon on Roman sites, known as a triple cup, or triple vase sometimes. They were almost certainly a little drinking test, a little challenge, as it were, that you would drink from one cup and the liquid from the other two would flow through into the first cup. So you could drink from the three by just drinking from one. Not a huge trick, but very popular, and popular right through into medieval times, and even in Victorian England you would have found these in pubs and things, triple cups. Very good little entertainment for the evening, I suppose. And so I set about making one of these triple cups, using as far as possible the same methods that the original potters had used. I started by making the holes in the pot so that I could line them more easily. The best way of making sure that they weren't going to come apart at the joints when you were using them was to apply a little ring of clay that would be used to stick them together. So the ring of clay is applied, the three pots are then pushed together and firmly attached to one another. Then the joining clay gets smoothed out so as to make the best finish that I can possibly manage. Then the holes were re-established by pushing a tool through between the pots, and then the pots were fired up to around about 1000 degrees centigrade, which is the sort of temperature that the original pot had been fired to. The triple cup that I made, with three vessels joined together, each with a hole between, joining each of them together, so you've got holes going right the way around. that would enable this to be a trip cup. You would be able to drink from one, and actually the level in all three would go down together. And that's really what they are. I'm about to break this one, so let's see what happens when I break it. Look familiar? Not exactly the same, but definitely the same form. I think my attachment has been slightly stronger than the original attachment. But you can see that the results are the same. So why, when I've just demonstrated that this definitely wasn't made as an owl, am I still continuing to say it's an owl? Well, I suspect that the Roman who broke this pot had very much the same reaction as the archaeologist who found it around 1800 years later. It looks like an owl. For the Romans, the owl was the symbol of Minerva, goddess of wisdom, justice, law, victory, and sponsor of the arts, trade, and strategy. She's also the goddess of strategic warfare rather than the violent warfare of gods such as Mars. The owl symbolized her association with wisdom and knowledge, and claimed its lineage from Athena's owl, seen here on this Greek tetradrachma from the 5th century BC. It's an image with which the Romans would have been familiar, and one that bears striking resemblance to the wide-eyed owl that seems to present itself quite by chance on the side of this broken pot. Minerva was also part of the Capitoline Triad, a group of three deities, Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva, who were worshipped in the ancient Roman religion in an elaborate temple on the Rome's Capitoline Hill. And I can't help wondering if maybe the triple cups had some role to play in their rituals. It's even possible that they were broken deliberately. There's plenty of evidence of deliberate ritual destruction of pots and figurines from Roman sites in Britain and across the empire. Certainly, the context of this find suggests deliberate votive deposition. And for these reasons, I'd suggest that this owl that isn't an owl is probably an owl.